on the bridge.
Battle stations.
Tactical.
Uh-oh.
She can still outrun us and outgun us. But there is the Mutara Nebula at 153 Mark IV.
Scotty, can we make it inside?
The Energizer's bypassed like a Christmas tree, so don't give me too many bumps.
No promises. On your way.
Trouble with the Nebula, sir, is all that static discharge and gas clouds our tactical display. Visual won't function, and shields will be useless.
Sauce for the goose, Mr. Savick. The odds will be even.
So one of the core technologies, one of the core pieces of Star Citizen that I have kept a weather eye on since we started hearing about it a couple of years ago, in fact, was gas clouds, nebulas, things of this nature. And so when it turned up on the roadmap, I have been watching it ever since very closely. Now, when the cloud tech was originally going to be in 3.3, it was like great, and then it got pushed back into 3.4. Of course, we know as some things took longer than others, things get pushed back. This is one of those things. And so, I mean, I guess I could say I was disappointed, but I mean, it is the nature of, game development that things end up getting pushed back. And trust me, because I'm currently playing BFA, I know all about what a rushed and unfinished feature looks like and feels like when you're playing it in a live environment, and it's not great. So, to a certain degree, I can show a lot of patience towards Star Citizen, and that's where that comes from. But to get back on track, the gas cloud tech is something that I've watched. I've was very intently listening when they were talking about nebulas, and sometimes nebulas possibly even spanning entire star systems or large sections of a star system. And I've always wanted to pay attention to that. We know that there's going to be environments, areas where it's difficult for ships to fly. There's going to be areas where there could be environmental interference. And, as a big fan of what is obviously the greatest Star Trek movie ever made since I was a kid. It's still one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. I really hope that we get some kind of nebula effects like that. Some kind of nebulas that maybe don't interfere with shields, but interfere with sensors and blind ships and stuff like that, that make for some really interesting battles and some really deep gameplay. That's what I hope turns up in the game. I realize that the initial implementation is probably just going to be kind of like a volumetric cloud effect that is going to apparently have some kind of real appearance to it, very tangible, something that looks like it belongs in the universe, and that's going to make a star system come to life visually and make it interesting to look at, if not beautiful. But I hope that there's an added effect that goes along with that, something that really does interfere with sensors, and I think that it can make for a lot of very interesting gameplay. I like, just having the possibility of something like that. Certainly with environments like that that are supposed to span large areas, conceivably that could also be something that extends over or into asteroid fields, things like that. I mean, we know that asteroid fields are going to get some kind of like a gas cloud particle effect, something to kind of bring them to life. I mean, certainly here in Yela, the asteroid field's pretty good, but it is still kind of very dry and flat. And hopefully there's something visually just to make it pop a little bit more. But beyond that, last year when they introduced the Pioneer and everyone was like, ooh, the Pioneer, we can build bases, land claims. There was a lot of discussion about that. I've kind of dropped into the discussion a few times the fact that I would rather see bases buildable on asteroids. Like if someone told me that, yeah, you can go to an asteroid in orbit of Yela and set up your own little base quietly, something like that, I would be all over that. Or just like if there are random lost asteroids in a nebula, or just an asteroid field that passes through or exists in a nebula, I think being able to build a little base, a little pirate way station out there, that would be something that would very much interest me, especially, you know, you would have an in-lore reason for it to exist because it's there, it's in the nebula, it's hard to find, so only the people who kind of know where it is know how to get there, that sort of thing. And, you know, just a little hidden outpost where friendly pirates can go and trade goods and maybe fuel up and get repairs, things like that. I think something like that, to see something like that evolve into the game, and something that isn't strictly speaking like CIG created, but something that's community created, I think would be really, really cool. So I hope, yeah, that's one of the things with the outpost construction and the Pioneer. I hope that it extends beyond worlds. I hope that it extends to asteroids as well. That, I think, would be just the cherry on top that would make that an amazing system to see come to life. Once you put a system like this in place, there's so many things that you can do. I mean, even the tactical implications of it are incredible. I mean, the things that you could possibly pull off, even in, let's say, like a PvE sense. I would love to see the YouTube video or the Twitch stream of somebody who's in, let's say, a Javelin or an Idris taking on a couple of, you know, Vandul capitals, and just using smart tactics and using an environment like this to their advantage, and basically having almost like the battle in the Mutara Nebula and just totally trouncing them just with skill, and using that environment as something to kind of even the odds. I really, you know, I can't wait for that thing, for something like that to happen, you know, if it does indeed materialize like that. And so I see a lot of hope in a system like this, and I hope that it goes beyond just being like a pretty visual effect, and it actually is something that deeply enriches gameplay. And I think that the amount of gameplay and the amount of depth that you can get out of something like this is going to be quite extraordinary. I mean, it seems like such a simple idea, but the amount of things, I'm sure that in your own mind right now, you're running through potential scenarios and saying, well, that could work. Or, oh, let's say if I had a cargo ship and I was running away from pirates, I could use an environment like that to kind of maybe shake them off and escape or something like that. Or I could hide a bunch of ships in a nebula and just get a Vandul ship to chase me and then ambush it or something like that. I mean, the possibilities are literally endless. And so I really hope that it goes far beyond just the simple environmental lighting effect and gas cloud effect, and it goes to some real deep gameplay stuff. I hope that that is something that we see materialize within the system. Now, certainly, it's kind of funny to hear me argue this point, because, you know, someone who is obviously a big fan of visibility, arguing that visibility should be impaired in certain areas. I think that, you know, when it comes to a ship, I don't think it should ever be impaired. I think that a ship should never be fighting you. But an environment that, you know, kind of obscures what you can see, and not just what you can see visually, but what you can see with your sensors, I think it adds a certain amount of tension. You know, it's something that you go in there and it adds that certain amount of fear. Like the very first time you ever played a Resident Evil game, you didn't know what was around the corner way back in the day, before, you know, really YouTube and the internet just kind of spoiled everything to a certain degree in gaming. When you didn't know what was around the next corner, I think having large swaths of space covered up in these gas clouds and, you know, whatever particulate matter, however it's scientifically designated, having areas that are obscured like this, having large areas where there is that mystery, where you could possibly set up a base or set up an ambush, or there could be an ambush waiting for you. I mean, you know, certainly I can imagine somebody standing on the bridge of their Javelin going into a nebula, and then all of a sudden seeing a huge Vandul capital ship just come looming out of the darkness would be, you know, a very terrifying but a very immersive experience. I think that would be very exciting. So hopefully it goes much beyond just the basic visual effect. Anyways, just some random thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.